What's up, Clean Freaks? Hank Balch here in studio today with a big announcement. Down there in Houston, Texas, there's some exciting things going on in the sterile processing space, and I have some guests here with me who's going to help us, number one, find out what's happening down here in Texas, because that's where I am too, but also what this means for sterile processing professionals within reach, but also what this might mean just for the industry at large, you know, the kinds of trends we're seeing around education, network, and collaboration. So hang here with us, regardless of where you live. I think you're going to find some value in the next 15, 20 minutes. Let's go right now to our guest, though. And Dusty, maybe we'll start with you. Can you give us a little intro to who you are?
Yeah, thanks, Hank. Well, you know, my name's Dusty Glass, and I'm the president of the Houston Sterile Processing Professionals Alliance. And man, today we're thrilled to announce the launch of a brand new Houston's area Sterile Processing Chapter. And this chapter is dedicated to bringing together all of those sterile processing professionals across the region, fostering community, learning, support, and excellence. I mean, honestly, whether you're a seasoned expert or you're just starting your journey in sterile processing, this chapter is your go-to resource for networking, education, and professional development.
So, Joseph, what's your story? What's your background?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Joseph Avila. I'm currently the Regional Director for Sterile Processing and ORN Materials here for Memorial Hermann Hospital System. In addition to that, I'm also a board member or board of directors with HSPPA. And so when Dusty Glass talked about relaunching the Houston chapter, I was very excited. Not only would this help out other sterile processing freaks in the local area, but it really pushes out HSPA's vision and mission of educating and networking with other peers in the market. And there's no reason why Houston, the world's largest medical center, doesn't have a local chapter. So shout out to Dusty for putting this on his shoulders with other key stakeholders to launch this or relaunch the local chapter.
So, Dusty, when Joseph says, you know, Houston's the largest medical center in the country, maybe the world, break that down a little bit for us. Like, how many large hospital systems, or about how many, who are these big names? Maybe let's just start there in the Houston area that you've got sterile processing professionals working at.
Well, thanks, Hank. I mean, we have so many huge world-renowned facilities in the main Metroplex area. You have world-renowned names like Methodist, Memorial Hermann, MD Anderson. You have so many opportunities for a wealth of knowledge that we can really see those standards of sterile processing and the highest quality represented here in Houston.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I know there's, of course, MD Anderson comes to mind when you're thinking cancer. And, of course, you guys are part of the Memorial Hermann Health Network. I got Houston Methodist down there. St. Luke's, right? You know, the names that you're listing off, I mean, these are some big players in healthcare in general, and then definitely within the sterile processing space. Behind each one of those big brand names is the team of clean freaks behind the scenes making surgery happen. And so it's a really exciting relaunch here. You know, Dusty, I guess I want to come back to you. You know, Joseph just kind of made it clear, hey, you know, Dusty put this thing on his shoulders and he's walking it across the finish line here. What was the vision for the relaunch? Years ago, there was a chapter there in Houston. And then obviously there was some challenges, I guess, along the way. But, you know, what's the vision for bringing this thing back to life?
Well, Joseph's awfully humble and kind. There's not one singular person that really is, doing this. This is a village. It takes a village. And the vision really behind the relaunch is really to just create like a dynamic, inclusive community that fosters professional growth, collaboration, and excellence in our field. This chapter in particular, we want to enhance professional development. We want to create network, collaboration with all of these great, wonderful names. We want to share those innovations. We want to share those collaborative environments that we can create, advocating for all of our safety, patients, and to support the career advancements for all of those members and all those clean freaks out there.
And I want to add a little bit to that, Hank.
Sure.
Normally, facilities, the larger medical academic facilities, they have an education program that they bring, whether it's vendor partners into their space or just perform in-services on their own. But we can't forget that there's a ton of surgical centers also in the Houston-Plex area, and normally those are the guys that get left out of the continuing education. And so the relaunching of the chapter will provide them the opportunity to also learn from others that work in these larger medical centers, the larger academic facilities as well. And once again, to network.
Yeah, that's a great point, Joseph. I know over the last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to come and speak at your health system seminars, which have been terrific, very well organized, great education, great attendance. But you're right, that's coming out of a large health system that's got a lot of resources, it's got a big team to put those on, and then you've got all these other facilities scattered around within driving distance, right? Like we're saying Houston Metroplex, but it's really, if you can drive into Houston for education, this chapter is a fantastic resource for you, and that stretches out a good ways in Texas. We're used to driving multiple hours to go do things, so it's a pretty strong reach out here. And maybe Dusty, let me come back with you on this question. Obviously, there's the career growth opportunity you listed out. That network educating opportunity. What else should people, if they're interested in joining, what are they going to get out of joining or supporting a chapter like this?
Yeah, there is a lot of things. I mean, we are hoping to foster a community of engagement here. We have such a broad healthcare community in Houston, like Joseph said, hospitals, educational institutions. We just want to promote the awareness, understanding critical role of sterile processing professionals. And we want to be as inclusive as possible and get all of those people that are, they feel like they get missed, they feel like they don't have a home, or, they just want an opportunity. And we want to open that door for them.
So, Joseph, let's talk maybe on the vendor side of things. Obviously, anytime we talk about vendors, like folks get a little bit, okay, there's clinicians and there's vendors, there's us, there's them. It's not necessarily a versus, but we kind of see it as, separate teams. But I come to the conclusion that we're in this thing together. Right. And the analogy that I like to use is, hey, walk into your department next time and just imagine there were no vendors and there were no products in your department. Well, it's going to be an empty field, right? Because someone sold the flooring, someone sold the walls and the ceiling and all the equipment and all the instruments and all the chemicals. We need vendors to do our jobs. And so obviously when we talk about these kinds of chapters, there's potentially a huge part to play for vendors to support the vision that Dusty just laid out. What would you say to vendors in the Houston area, Texas area, that are looking to put their resources, their time, their effort behind this relaunch? What would they get out of supporting this group?
Let me start off with first saying that I'm 100% pro vendors.
Okay.
To me, vendor relationships are key to, similar to what you were saying, Hank. Vendors can either make you or break you, but, they're there to be of support. And so it's about communicating with vendors, working in alignment to ensure that y'all both, working towards the same goal. And so if vendors are interested in supporting that goal, whether it's to bring in new product, talk to us about new technologies in their space, or just help with the continuing education, we're 100% going to welcome them. And we couldn't do this without them. They're a key part of this overall concept of relaunching the chapter. And so we definitely welcome them. So whether it's reaching out to myself or Dusty, we definitely want them to be there, be present, show us what are the areas of opportunities on our end. What are we missing? What can we do better to support their, whether it's a ortho tray, neuro tray, etc., or if it's something Dusty and I were talking about, AI and SPD. What technology is coming out that we need to be aware of so we can plan, try to budget this. We're coming up in our new fiscal year next month, so those are the things that we need to be in tune to so we can strategize and get ready for what's coming up across the horizon.
I love that too. That vendor perspective is so key because they get to see all these other facilities and departments and how they're doing things and what they're doing, what's working for them and what's not. And it's hard as a clinician, if you're locked into one department, you see this department every day. It's really easy to get that kind of tunnel vision, but then you get that fresh perspective in there many times from that education or just the conversations with.
And I don't know if they're lying to me, if they're just great sales guys or whatnot, or sales women, but they tell me I'm their favorite. So
yeah. Well, I don't know about that. We'll have to judge that one later.
Yeah.
So Dusty, let's get a little personal here, because obviously a huge part of this chapter is the education piece. And there's a lot of other implications that come in around that, relate to career growth and just encouragement. But specific to education, how have you seen access to education impact your own career and even, your ability maybe to effectively fulfill the role that you're put in as a sterile processing professional?
Well, I think for me, it all started, when I got out of the military. I kind of had to sit down and had to take a hard look at myself and figure out what does Dusty the adult want to do now, right? And it was really, of course, my wife was amazing for me to really help me and help guide me to say, hey, find something that you love, find something that you want to do that you can be passionate about. And that was really what I wanted to do, was to find something that I could invest myself in, something that I could kind of shine my light to other people. And I feel like that is what sterile processing allows me to do, is affect so many people that you wouldn't have the opportunity to in any other career path. And having that education, having the desire really to learn how do I be better? Like, it's such a complex thing. Is how do I become better? And what's everyone's opinion of becoming better? For me, it's key in how I work every single day, how I look at things, my perspective. And that's what my hope is, to really challenge other professionals, because that's really what we are. We're healthcare professionals. And challenge them to take a hard look at themselves and say, hey, you know what? In the short term, maybe that certification might not bump you up at that moment, right? But what is it going to do for you in the long run, right? And I feel like so many times we get this tunnel vision and try to provide for the day-to-day, and we don't think about, what are we going to do in 5 years? Where am I going to be in 10 years? And that's what I challenge people to do.
Yeah. So Joseph, Dusty highlighted, hey, education has allowed me to fulfill my passion and, to find his passion, but then also kind of propel that passion forward, I guess. What would you say in your own experience, how has education played a role in, getting to where you are today?
100%. So it took me a while to get my undergrad degree knocked out. Similar to Dusty, I was also in the military, so trying to do your undergrad while serving active duty, it's a bit hard, even with online offerings. Well, at least they weren't that popular when I was serving. But it took me a while. It took me about 10 years or so. But right afterwards, I knew that this was just a stepping stone, and then from there, of course, I went on to get my grad degree from Texas A&M. Whoop. Yep. And but now that's definitely broadened my opportunities. It's given me a different perspective. For sterile processing, you always think about instruments, infection control, etc. But it's a business as well. And so having an MBA keeps me in tune to, hey, what really makes it tick, and that's a lot to deal with numbers.
Hmm.
And so we have to make sure, one thing that we're talking about here recently, and it's on current minds of all of us here at the facility, is being productive. And so, we try to weave those conversations in with the staff with all the other 100 conversations that are taking place, and break it down to them so that they understand and still stay motivated. And so those are some of the things that I'm working on with the team, and ensuring that, one, we're being productive, but we're being productive in the most safest means possible to ensure that everybody gets the same standard of care.
Great. Yeah, I love both of those answers. Dusty brought out the passion piece. Joseph, obviously, you brought out what I'll call kind of cross-pollination, because you're bringing in education and experience that, other professionals may not have, myself included. I don't have an MBA. And so, one of the parts of this chapter is, bringing in the passion piece that Dusty talked about, bringing in this diverse educational background experience, life experience, throwing everyone into the same room on, certain weekends throughout the year or weeks. And then you get to talk to each other and learn from each other, even outside of whoever's up front, doing the education, right? It's the conversations in the hallway or, in the elevator back and forth. So, really cool synergy is going to happen, a ton of cross-pollination. We're going to see lots of blooms come out of this event and this chapter. I know it. But as you guys have been saying, this is a new thing. It's a new launch. This summer is the big push for membership. So, Dusty, let me ask you, anyone who's tuning in and saying, hey, I live within driving distance, I'd love to be a part of that. How do they, what step do they need to take now to find out more information and get involved?
So I'm so glad you said that. We have, we've got multiple different ways that people could reach out. We have our own website, HSPPA Chapter.com. You can go there. We have our membership. We have our bylaws, our just about everything that we have that you can imagine to ask. We have on here. We have links to some social media pages, sponsorships, but clicking on that membership page, taking an application, emailing it to me, and really looking over that, kind of see what they're passionate about, what they're interested in, and be able to sign up right there, all in one convenient spot.
Great. And both of you guys are on LinkedIn. Is that right?
Okay. That's correct, Hank.
That's great.
Yes,
yeah.
Sir.
So people can track you down through LinkedIn, get connected. And then I'm assuming if there's vendors out there as well, they should navigate through that same webpage you mentioned, Dusty, to kind of check out what's going on and reach out for more information. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a whole link there for our sponsors, kind of what our
Great.
offerings are, what those entail. We have, of course, different tiers, different opportunities there. I know every business is not the same, and they're all looking for different things. So we wanted to bring multiple different offerings for everybody to really work with their business model and help us help our technicians, because that's ultimately what matters.
So in terms of timeline, I know the relaunch, I guess, was official this last annual conference when the vote came through. And this summer, you're driving membership. What should folks expect? Do you have an event calendar in the works? Do you have an initial meeting set up? Kind of talk us through that here before we close.
Yeah. So that's exactly what this whole summer is really drawn and driven on membership. We want to hear before we really set a calendar. We want to know what you think, what you want.
Okay.
We want to tailor it to what the needs of our members are. Not what Dusty wants or not what anyone wants. I want it to be, what do the members want? What do you want to see? What outreach do you want to do? What education are you looking for? What are those things that are important to you? So then we can make that calendar work for you.
Okay. Awesome. Well, gentlemen, I want to congratulate you. I know this is the very beginning, not the end of this journey, but it's a lot of work to put these things together. I know I was part of the San Antonio relaunch a couple of years ago, as well as the Kentucky one a couple of years before that. So it is a lot of work. It's a lot of lift, and the hard work ain't done yet. And so if there's anyone tuning in, I'm sure these guys would love additional support, not only just joining, but if you're interested in the administrative side of helping these chapters get organized, plan events, do websites, you name it, I'm sure they'd love the help and the extra hands on that as well. And then, of course, on that vendor side, as Joseph mentioned, we can't do these kind of chapter events without vendor support that believe in the value of education networking that these gentlemen have been discussing. So please reach out and support this chapter. And if there's anybody else listening to this who maybe you're the other side of the country and you're like, hey, that sounds awesome, I'd love to do this for my chapter, or maybe launch a chapter in your area. If you don't have one, please reach out to myself or any of these guys too, because they're fresh through the process. And so they can talk to you about what they learned along the way. And I'm sure they'd be willing to help as well. So guys, yeah, congrats again. Really excited with what's happening in my backyard down there in Houston. And I can't wait to see where the conversation goes from here.
Awesome. Well, Hank, I just want to give you a huge shout out for letting us be on this platform. Thank you for always supporting us, not only at Memorial Hermann, but now with this new chapter and the whole Beyond Clean team. So appreciate
thanks,
that.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much. All right. Well, until we talk again next week, to all those clean freaks out there listening, I want to remind you, like we do each and every time here on Beyond Clean, to keep fighting dirty.
Houston means the last day of the tour through.